It's a thank you to Manchester United. You have been the most fantastic experience of my life. If you think about it, those last minute goals, the comebacks, even the defeats are all part of this great football club of ours. And it's been an unbelievable experience for all of us. So thank you for that.
Boss, it's great to see you. And
thank you.
I'm going to take you back to the team talks, and I don't know how many times you mentioned the Govan Shipyards, but it was a lot. During the season, referring back to obviously moments in your childhood growing up and the importance of obviously being grounded. Just talk to us about that and why you used to refer to it in your team talks to players at Manchester United. I suspect before that Aberdeen as well.
Well, I think that my reasons were that the players I had to deal with then probably were not from the working class that I was from. So I had to try and instill that part in them that working hard is a real talent. And I refer to shipyard workers, to miners, to steel workers. And I think that you may not have been the working class, but your fathers, your grandfathers were. And I really put a great importance in having to work hard. Even your best player, although he may be the most talented player, he has to show that he's prepared to work as hard as every other player. And I think we got that. I think I was lucky that the players bought into the very fact that working hard is a talent.
And I get asked this question probably more than ever, or more than any other question. How did Sir Alex Ferguson get you to keep coming back every single year, all the teams at Manchester United, and do it again?
It's a sacrifice. You know, that when I became a manager, I'd been a player, a decent player. When I became a manager at 32, I thought this would be easy. You know, I was thinking about other managers I worked for and certain, and I thought, yeah. I lost my first away game 5-2. I'm going home at night in the car and I'm saying to myself, I didn't expect this. And I realised then that if I didn't get a working mentality or a mental strength in my players, I had no chance. After one league triumph, and the first team talk I had the next year was about the geese. Do you remember that? It's a great story. A friend of mine had a farm his cousin had a farm in Canada, and he was telling me the story about geese flying to 4,000 miles for a bit of heat, you know. And then I said to the players, I said, all I'm asking you is to play 38 games to win the league. You know, so the motivation always, I would be sitting in my bed, or lying in my bed at night, thinking about ways of motivating players, because if you're at a club like United for 27 years, you don't want players to feel, here we go again.
How did you build a team? What was the ethos behind the team? Because you kept me for 3 or 4 years at the end, and I wasn't doing particularly great for you.
Now, you made your own decision, but...
I know. Even at the end, I had to say I'm leaving.
Yeah.
You weren't getting rid of me then.
No, I wasn't. I said that to you. Go away and think about it. You remember?
Yeah, no, I remember going and seeing you and saying to you, boss, I'm done. I was making mistakes. And he said, typical emotional Neville. He said, go away, have a think about it. But even then, you wanted to have me to have another year.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, why did you keep these players who weren't necessarily performing for you like I wasn't at the end, or weren't the most talented, but they were winning? And how did you make them win?
I think through Eric Harrison and myself, I think we brought players where we developed a good mental strength, a toughness that they could play in front of 75,000. We used to say that to the parents all day. I said to your mother and father, I hope Gary and Phil play in front of 75,000. And that's the aim. They don't all make it, but you know, the amazing thing is a lot of those players are still playing today with different clubs. So that the preparation and education they got as they were built up in United was really important. Now, on the subject which you mentioned about great players and you know, the hard-working players, this is something I thought about an awful lot with Brian Robson, Steve Bruce and yourself. There's something inside them that drove them to be as good as the Scholes and the Giggs and the Cantonas and the Ronaldos and the Rooneys. There's something inside them that drives them on. It forces them to bring out everything they can put in a game. So therefore, I was fortunate to see that develop like Darren Fletcher was a great example. Steve Bruce was a great example. Yourself was a great example, right? Because you started as a centre half, and we realised quickly you weren't going to be a centre half in our first team. So you developed yourself in the right back, and that was your self-determination and have the fire inside you that made the Robsons, the Keanes, and the Bruces all competitive players. It's the players who are so talented, like Cantona and Ronaldo and Giggs and Scholes and Carrick, they have to show that they're prepared to be as hard working as you lads, the other lads, and that's what gets the blend. And I think in most cases the teams we built had these ingredients. They didn't like losing. They were developed into that way, and I like to see myself in the players. And of course, when I lost a game, you know how I reacted. You know why? Because my expectation was bigger than theirs. I was going to win World Cups, win every game. That was my attitude every morning, every Saturday morning, to win every game.
The other word that I always remember you referring to in team talks was risk.
You're down 1-0 with 15 minutes to go. What's the point in sitting with your back four, your regular midfield, and 2 strikers? What's the point in it? The risk is shove people in the box because the other team react to that. You shove 3 and 4 in the box, get the ball in there. That's the risk because you can lose the breakaway, the counter-attack quite easily. And we lost games that way. I remember, I think it was Newcastle, Ole Gruner got sent off with bringing the player down the last kick of the ball. But the value is, you scored in the last minute, or injury time. Remember the dressing room? It was electric, absolute electric. The fans are going home, they can't wait to get to the pub to talk about. They can't wait to go home and tell their wife and their kids what it was like at Old Trafford to score in the last minute. That's the value. And if you're playing for our club, that risk should always be there.
I grew up supporting United and not liking Liverpool because of the success, but I think that it even heightened when I got in the club. Because when either the youth team played Manchester City or Liverpool, or whether the reserve team were playing Manchester City or Liverpool, you were offended by, it felt to me like you were offended by the club being beaten by Liverpool or City at any level, and it made you angry. And the build-up to those games, your face was more, a little bit like it is now. Was it a dislike of you? Was it the rivalry? What was it that made you feel that way? Because it was just different in the club.
It's my respect to Liverpool. When I was in Manchester Mirren, I went down to Liverpool's training for a week, and I saw the intensity of their training and the consistency they had. So when I came to United, they were winning all the titles. I made that point. And it's like when I was at Aberdeen, there's only 2 clubs you need to beat in Scotland to win everything. That's Rangers and Celtic. At that time when I came to United, there's only 1 club to beat to win the league, and that's Liverpool. So that was my intention. That was what I put everything into producing a team who could beat them. Not necessarily beat them every game, but win the leagues. And I knew that if you beat Liverpool, you're on the right path.
I only recognised this properly when I became captain for that last 4 or 5 years, that you used to stand outside the dressing room door and the captain couldn't go out past you until you were there. Every single match. You make sure you... it's this influence over referees, this looking down the corridor, it's the looking at the away team. What was the reason you stood outside that door so that everybody could see you? Was it for your own team or was it for the others down the corridor?
No, for the own team.
Okay.
The own team. But there was one occasion, I don't know if you remember this, but we were down 3-0 to Tottenham. And I never said a word in the dressing room. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I sat in the radiator and it was bloody burning hot too. And I says,
I do remember actually now.
Next goal's the winner. That's what I said. And I went to the door, and Teddy Sheringham, who played with us, of course, was their captain. And he came out to the door and looked to me and turned and said to his players, "Don't let them score early." We scored in the first minute. You remember that?
Yeah.
I thought that killed him, and with Teddy having to say that to them, because I looked at him, and they looked at me. And I just, come on, we can win this. It's a funny game.
So Alex Ferguson talking to his former captain, Gary Neville, who's part of our commentary team this evening and joins us now. Is he still your boss, Gary?
Yeah, I think obviously anybody who played under him still refers to him as boss, and it was fascinating talking to him for half an hour, because he's not someone that you talk to ordinarily on that level when obviously you've played underneath him. It's a completely different situation.
Were there questions that you'd had for years that you thought, I want to know about this, I want, that you got the opportunity to ask him?
Yeah, I ignored completely the fact that he was bringing a film out in the next couple of weeks and just thought I need to get these questions out of the way. Obviously he's bringing a film out, and I was given the opportunity to interview him, but I just thought the best thing to do was to ask him about some of the personal experiences and thoughts that I'd had, obviously when I shared a dressing room with him, which you never ask him those questions when you're playing for him. It just never comes up. It's not things that you think about.